live. So welcome to today's call, folks. We got our friend Curtis, who is going to be killing the exam very shortly. And Curtis, welcome to the conversation. So you're hearing my voice coming back. Just ignore it. So man, yeah, we plan to do this for 7, but I had a few things here and there, like I told you, to take care of, and now we're able to meet. So, tell me, Curtis, how much of the PMBOK guide stuff and the dogma have you actually started combing through? Like started studying, reading?
Just right now, I'm from chapter 6.
Okay.
I completed the old edition, but in the current edition, I'm just finishing up chapter 6. I got one more section in chapter 6 before I go on to 7.
Gotcha.
I'm scheduling into the process.
Okay. That's cool. Okay, so chapter 6. Very good. Okay. So what I wanted to share with you today, and some of our other friends, let me take a look and see who's here. So we have Shri. Good evening, Shri. How you doing? Maya, how you doing? You're gearing up. You got 8 days left or something like that. Megafokai 671. Good evening, Kunwa. Good evening. So for those of you that are in the Savage on Saturday group, just so you know, we got a phone call going on at the same time. So if you're on Savage on Saturday and you care to join in to ask a question audibly, like Curtis is on the phone, you can always feel free to do that. So the main purpose of this call is really to help folks, especially our man of the hour, Curtis, who's going to be killing this shortly, to help you guys frame how to study. I wanted to give you some ideas, run some things by you, so at the moment I'm sharing my screen in Zoom. So those of you who have joined that, you can see that I'm sharing that. And those of you on YouTube, I'm going to be sharing that now. So we're both looking at the same thing. We're all looking at the same thing. And this is a typical example of how a schedule for studying should look in my mind. I think that anyone studying for the exam needs to make it a project. You need to have something like this. That would be my 2 cents, So here you can see it starts off from chapter 1. And in my mind, if you're studying chapter 1, it's an all-out studying of chapter 1. In this one, you're going all out, putting everything into it, taking notes, watching the videos, reading the book, reading the PMBOK guide. Curtis, let me see if my video will behave itself so you can see me as well. So can you see my video? Cool. Cool. So, studying the PMBOK guide, let me actually record now that we're going. Let me just hit the record button. Okay. So Curtis, the PMBOK guide, reading the Project Management Essentials book as well, everything. So when I say 2 days, I'm not just talking about reading the book. I'm talking about looking at everything and taking notes and paying close attention to various things. So in my mind, chapter 1 could take about 2 days, chapter 2, roughly 2 days as well. Same thing for chapter 3. But when you get to chapter 4, this is where it begins to get a little bit more intense. And I just wanted to go over a few things with you regarding studying from chapters 4 down to 13. There's quite a lot of stuff that I would recommend that anyone do. Okay, so I'm going to shift here to a whiteboard, and I'm going to just let me use one process as an example to give you an idea of what I expect you to do for all of the 49 processes. Okay, so do you have a hard copy of your book? Do you have a hard copy of the PMBOK guide?
No, I just got the PDF.
Oh, the PDF. Okay, that's fair enough. If that works for you, that's cool. So let me go into a process like manage project knowledge. Let's take manage project knowledge, for example. If I was going to study manage project knowledge as part of my studying integration, this is exactly what I would do. First of all, I would read page 98. So let me write it down so folks are following. Manage project knowledge. Okay, so for me, every single one of these processes needs to be looked at as a special process. You know, you need to look at everyone as a new encounter with a different kind of animal. So for managed project knowledge, the first thing I would do is read this page 98. So I would go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. For example, I just read it. Managed project knowledge is the process of using existing knowledge. So it's using knowledge. It's not just creating knowledge, as many people think. So I would make down a note that this is the usage of knowledge, using knowledge. So that is of particular interest to me, because when you talk about lessons learned or knowledge bases, a lot of times people think about putting stuff in, but they're not thinking about getting stuff out. So I would underline something like using existing knowledge. We're not even talking about you trying to get like new knowledge. This is using what is already available. And then it says, and creating new knowledge. So that first line is an eye-opener. This process is not just about lessons learned. It's about using lessons learned that already exist, using knowledge that already exists, and creating new knowledge to achieve the project's objectives and contribute to organizational learning. So twofold: existing knowledge for my project and creating new knowledge, not just for my project, but to contribute to organizational learning. So immediately I start studying this, I realize, wow, this is about organizational learning and adding to the corporate knowledge base. And then it says, the key benefits of this process are that prior organizational knowledge is leveraged to produce or improve the project outcomes. There they go again, saying prior organizational knowledge. So this process, as I encounter it, I want to begin to absorb what it's all about. And I would be making notes, taking notes here. You know, where it says prior organizational knowledge, I would highlight that. You know, being leveraged to produce, you see. So you're going to have to piece apart every single word. And then it says to produce the project outcomes or improve the project outcomes. So we're not just talking about to get the deliverable out or to output something. It's to improve what may already exist. You know, so in instances where the project is not going as planned, or deliverable has failed, or you got a defect, or there's some action that needs to be taken, maybe corrective action, these lessons learned or this knowledge that is being referred to, they're trying to call your attention to the fact that this can be used to improve stuff. And then it says, knowledge created by the project is available to support organizational operations. Again, boom, that's another big one, because a lot of times people think, oh yeah, that knowledge is only for the project, or that knowledge is only for projects. But here we can see that this knowledge is also to support organizational operations, not just projects, and future projects or phases. So things like that, tiny little things like that, they mean a lot, because by the time the question writers get hold of stuff like that, they're going to use it. So as you're studying, you know, I would be taking notes, highlighting these things I'm calling out, you know, and being there in the zone. And then it says, this process is performed throughout the project. So again, the light bulb comes on. It's not a one-time thing, because a question writer could say the managed project knowledge process is one in which the project manager does, and then it could say uses existing knowledge, or creates new knowledge, or uses existing knowledge and creates new knowledge, and then something else. So you need the full picture. And that's why I tell people, as you're studying, each one of these processes needs to be put under a microscope, as it were. You get what I'm saying? Cool. And then it goes further to say figure 4-8. In figure 4-8, I think this is, okay, figure 4-9 depicts the data flow. That's good. But the processes, this is the one I want to hone in on. The inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs of this process are depicted in figure 4-8. So the figure directly under, that figure, for every one of the 49, you need to look at this as, this is new. I need to break it apart bit by bit. Okay, so we were talking about the components in the project management plan earlier. So the first input it mentions in figure 4-8, and I'll just make a little image here. So this is what I would do if I was studying, because there are two parts to this. One of them is like studying, and the other part is like rehashing what you've studied. So I would get used to the acronyms. Manage project knowledge. It just makes it more boss-like to be able to use an acronym and know what exactly is being spoken about. So try to make these into acronyms like MPK, manage project knowledge. Okay? And as I'm studying, I would take notes like this. This is what I would do. I would take notes and I would just say project management plan. You know, I would consciously write it down so that it registers. Okay, I'm using this. Now, the trick regarding the project management plan, just to give you a quick trick, all of the 49 except develop project charter and develop project management plan all use the project management plan as an input. Every process in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, except these two, use the project management plan as an input, you see. So once that has registered in your head that, oh, the only two processes that don't use the project management plan as an input are DPC and DPMP. The moment that registers, you don't need to cram it anymore. You already know. So you see what I'm saying? So everyone you come across, you're not cramming, oh, project management plan is used here. No, you know it's used here because it's not develop project charter or develop project management plan. See that? Now that there will be some specific mention of which aspect of the project management plan is used whenever you see it. But in this instance, it just says all components. So I just say all, that's fine. Just need to register. It's everything that PMI is saying is relevant. And you know, the funny thing is, even in instances where the PMI lists out all the pieces of the project management plan that they deem are relevant, while I appreciate that, I appreciate what they've done there, but that is not to say that on some random project, something else that they didn't mention could be an input. So they're fond of saying could include, but is not limited to. Could include, but is not limited to. PMI are fond of this statement. Could include, but is not limited to. You know, at the end of the day, you just take everything. The whole thing on page 89 is a possible input. That, you know, in my mind. But when they call out some specific ones, I do pay attention, but I don't get hung up on when they're calling out specific ones. All right. So that's how I would deal with the project management plan as an input. See? All right. Next one here is project documents. I just use PD because I want to get into the routine of just, you know, as short as possible. PD, PMP. If it's project management plan updates, I'm going to call it PMPU. If it's project documents updates, I'm going to call it PDU. So that's how I roll with this stuff, you see. And then under project documents, we've got a number of them listed. We've got lessons learned register. Now, the interesting thing about the lessons learned register is that it is an output of this process, and at the same time, it is listed as an input to it. So that is an important one. You got your lessons learned register coming out, and then it's been listed again here as an input. And the reason is because it's accumulating various pieces of knowledge and information, and at the same time, you're going to have other lessons learned registers from other projects. So in my mind, this is a catch-all for everything that is going into MPK from the lessons learned registers from past and present. So what I'm trying to say is whenever you see them listing out these tiny little nicks and knacks like lessons learned register under project documents, project team assignments, you see that? You see? So in my mind, I would say, project team assignments. Which process is that from? You see what I'm saying? You have to question which process is that from. And if you don't know which process it's from, you need to go dig into the details. It's good you've got the PDF because you can just type in project team assignments. So after you acquire resources, my guess is you're gonna have that as an output. So let's go to 9.3 because I'm guessing that's where it is. You see, it's unfortunate because you are from the school of the fifth. It's just that you didn't take the exam, but in the fifth edition, the PMI used to show very clearly where the inputs are coming from. Here, it's just lost in transmission. It's quite annoying to me that you open up a data flow. I'm serious. You open up a data flow and it's like, where did you come from? And all they can tell you is, I'm a project document. No, you're not a project document. What's your real name? So if you go to page 328 and you look at the second output, you see that? The second output on page 328 of Acquire Resources is project team assignments. So you need to know, where is this thing coming from? Don't just tell me, I'm part of project documents. It's not enough for me. I need to know specifically where you are from, and then why are you going into managed project knowledge? You see, this is how you need to break down the PMBOK guide so thoroughly that you do it one time and your head is loaded with good information, not just words, but it's loaded with meaning, and you're able to join pieces of the PMBOK guide. So let's take a read as to why project team assignments is here. So I'll go to page 101, and on page 101 you see the second bullet. It says project team assignments provide information on the type of competencies and experience available in the project and the knowledge that may be missing. So now I know what's available to me by way of the humans on the project. I know their skills, I know their expertise, but even more importantly, I know what's missing. Because if I know those assignments, I can see, Phil needs to be, he needs to be proficient in this particular aspect of subsea work. Well, he needs to have gone for a 40-hour diving course. He hasn't been for the course. You see, Phil needs to have an awareness of projects like this. How can I match Phil to get the knowledge that he needs, or how can I help, him get that? So the project team assignments here are going to help the project manager or any other managers working with the project manager to make sure people get the knowledge they need, or make sure that they are sharing the knowledge they have. So that is why you've got your project team assignments here listed under project documents. So the bottom line is, for every one of these sub project documents, right, you need to know where you're from and why you're here is basically what I'm saying. So the next one is resource breakdown structure. And then part of what could help is on the actual page, like 101, it says described in 9.2. So if you're studying for the exam, and my friends on YouTube, if you take a look at 9.2 and you say, okay, that is whatever it is, that is, you're getting a level above the layman to actually know that 9.2 is in resource management, and it is whatever it is, estimate activity resources, you see. And you even go a step further, Curtis. You go a step further to know you're not a tool and technique, you are an input or you're an output, or you're an input. It's good to know whether it's an input or output to a particular place and why you would see it somewhere else. So when I show you this timetable and I say, okay, resource management, I mean, this is probably from the previous edition. But when I say resource management, one day, I'm talking about going through all of this stuff. So it might look like, that's a lot of time to go through such a small chapter. No, it's not. By the time you do this for every single process in a knowledge area, I mean, look at it. We've probably spent 20 minutes already, and we haven't even gotten halfway into managed project knowledge. Now, I know I'm talking and all that stuff, but it could take a long time to comb through process by process, similar to the videos, you know. Another tip would be, as you watch the videos on the LMS, you could actually pause and just assimilate some of what I've said and jot down and write down, you know, because it becomes easier when you're able to pause, fill, and say, okay, I want to digest what you just said, and you can write it down. It becomes a lot easier. You see what I'm saying? Do you have any questions about what we've talked about so far?
No. I'm seeing other touch points and the correlations, and like you said, you're helping me provide a frame, and give me direction where I need to focus in on. Like I said, particularly the things I've mentioned and the uniqueness of special things, i.e. with the listener and visitor being an input and an output, and knowing exactly how to map those processes. So I'm geeking. I definitely appreciate you taking this time, sir.
Great. Oh, no problem, man. It's a pleasure. So we got a few chats in from some of our friends on YouTube. Mega Foci, I'm sorry to hear that. So Curtis, we have someone here. I don't know if you can switch between YouTube and the conference just to take a look at some of the chat. Someone said, I failed the PMP exam twice and I need your help for the third time. Absolutely. So that's why I'm here. If you have any specific questions, please chat them in. I'll be very happy to answer them. Kunwa chatted in, hi Phil, want to know in which process we prepare test cases for checking quality. That's a very good question. So bear in mind that preparing test cases is not project management. Preparing test cases and test scripts is information technology intense work. So in the previous job I worked in IT effectiveness at Honeywell, that was my job, you know, test scripts and use cases to test against a particular system. And I can tell you that that is work. That is not project management. So if you're going for the PMP exam and you said, oh, I've written test scripts, I've done use cases, PMI is going to say, no, that's not project management. Why? Because it is part of your executing as a team member, but in the world of the project manager, it's not recorded as project management. So in my mind, that is part of your deliverable. So test scripts, use cases, in my mind, those would be things that you're outputting as part of direct and managed project work, you see. So there's usually a misconception. People think that the initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing equates to project management, or I should say project work. No, it's not. It's project management work. But direct and managed project work is like the technical work that you're doing, writing use cases, test scripts, doing white box, black box testing, whatever you're doing, all that stuff, it would all fall into technical work. And that would be more in your project life cycle as opposed to this. So if you're talking about where does the project manager have oversight of that, it's in executing, specifically the direct and managed project work process. So very, very good question. Good question. Hey, Mark, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Kunwa says deliverables goes to 3 areas: managed project knowledge, PICC, control quality, and in page 113, yes, that is an error, and the PMI is well aware that that is definitely an error. So let me go to your page 113. That is a good thing to take note of. So you see, Curtis, as you go through the PMBOK guide in detail, you probably will find some of these errors as well. So in my copy of the PMBOK guide, I don't see deliverables as an input there. To perform integrated change control, yeah, I don't see that. For managed project knowledge, you can see what is mentioned there. It says deliverables are typically tangible components completed to meet the project objectives and can include components of the project management plan, which is a given. So let me take a look at the actual data flow for that. Let's see if it is represented there. So if we go to, yeah, it's all intact for MPK, but for PICC, I wouldn't even expect it. Oh, hang on. Am I looking at the right place? Yeah, for PICC, I wouldn't expect it to be there. So your PMBOK guide might be, it might be an addition prior to the modifications. Do you know the best thing to do? And this will help you as well, Curtis. If you go to this document, it's from the PMI, and it's called the PMP PMBOK Guide Errata Sheet for the 6th edition. I'm gonna post this link for everyone on the call so that you guys will be able to refer to the most current errata sheet. Let me move it over so you can see it. So that sheet right there, and I've typed it into YouTube. Let me type it into our conference here. So that's it, Curtis. So I've typed it into our little chat box there. And yep, that is the most current errata sheet. Anytime you are in doubt about anything, my suggestion would be to go to the errata sheet, look it up, see if there's anything goofy that has been taken out. So if I do a search for deliverables here, deliverables, I don't really see any mention of it being modified. So yeah, you may have a very, very old, very early edition PMBOK guide. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ronnie. Good to see you tonight. And yes, once the exam is done, they will tell you if you passed or failed. You know, another piece that a lot of people miss out on is this. I'm going to share this with you. And I'm just gonna put it in chat. It's a link, and the last time I shared this, they were getting their knickers in a twist. So I'm just gonna type it in. You guys can check it out. I'm not in the mood for the drama this time, but check out this link. I'm not sharing anything on the screen. They get all bent out of shape. You know, someone made a lot of noise and ended up getting a strike on the channel because I was trying to help people see, okay, if you go into the exam, this is what you can expect. And I think someone from their company didn't like that. So anyway, they took the video down, but the link that I shared there is going to help anyone who is clueless about how the exam looks to get an idea of what the screen looks like, how to navigate, and so on. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so let's get back onto the study discussion. Folks, if you got any questions on YouTube, continue to chat them in. If you're on the Savage on Saturday group, and I see we have one more person who joined. Let's see, Shri. Good to see you, Shri. Thank you for joining. So Shri is on as well, and yeah, feel free to, can you unmute yourself if you want? Let me see. Mute yourself locally, Shri, and then if you got any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself locally. But let me unmute you. So just giving you a warning, just in case. I know it's probably quiet where you are, but you can never tell. Okay, so that is pretty much it. Check out that link that I typed into chat, and it will give you a very good idea of what to expect on the actual exam. But going back to our little discussion here about how to study, it is extremely important that you guys leave no stone unturned. Zero. You don't want to leave a single stone unturned. And that is what I'm trying to exemplify by going through all of this stuff, you know, rigorously. So going back to our whiteboard, you can see how I've painstakingly called out project management plan, project documents, and now we are going through them one by one. So we talked about a lessons learned register, project team assignments. Next one is the very important resource breakdown structure. See that? That's the next one. And then we have, it's kind of an output of one process coming in here. It says, the resource breakdown structure includes information on the composition of the team and may help to understand what knowledge is available. Again, it's similar to the project team assignments. It helps you know which knowledge is available. Oh, because Phil is in this team, and knowing that he's done projects like this in the past, we could use him to get some knowledge to help new people and so on. Stakeholder register is the next one. So again, I would write all this stuff. I'm a stickler for writing down what I'm reading, because if you've written it down, maybe even write it out in full the first time, you write it out in full, it's going, for me at least, it registers more for me when I write stuff down. I learn 360. This is all about how do you learn. Do you learn from writing down stuff? I do. If you learn from writing, you want to do that. I learn a lot from audio. I learn a massive amount from audio, so you want to listen to audio. I learn a lot from taking a look at the visuals of the ITTOs. If I see an ITTO, visualize it. It ain't going away from my head. It's just going to stay there. So all this stuff I'm talking about studying, it will have the audio component, the writing component, the visual component, everything, even speaking to someone, just having a dialogue about some of these tools and techniques, it could help, So I advise anyone, like the Savage on Saturday group, what I expect, and you should join that group, Curtis, if you haven't. But the Savage on Saturday, savageonsaturday.com, because I know that, when we're doing stuff for the firm that you were at, we had our own little group on Yammer, we had our own little group on LinkedIn, but we have a group called savageonsaturday.com, and savageonsaturday.com, and I'll just put the link into chat to help anyone else who may be keen on joining, and I'll put it here for you, because that would also be another motivator, if you're in the group. I encourage people to ask questions in the group. Sometimes I put up quizzes every now and again, and then when we have meetings like this, I announce them within the group. So that would be a good group to join. We have a lot of folks getting ready for the exam in that group. So what I expected people on Savage on Saturday to do is to collaborate and motivate themselves to kill the exam. I usually tell them, hey, find a study buddy, join a study group, motivate yourselves, discuss. This dialogue helps. Imagine being on the phone for 1 hour with a bunch of other friends getting ready to take the exam, and all you're doing is talking about this stuff, talking about EEFs, OPAs, and the like. It would be a really great thing. So I recommend it. Did you get the link I chatted in?
I got the pro metric and the other one before that.
Oh, let me type the Savage. All right, that's the Facebook group. If you go to savageonsaturday.com, it will also lead you to that same group, and I'll just chat it in here as well into YouTube, so everyone has got it. There you go.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, my suggestion to everyone who is studying, find a study buddy. Seriously, it can really take you levels above. So like this great question that who asked that question about test scripts? I can't find it, but someone asked a great question about that. Just taking that information and being able to, Kunwa asked it. So just being able to discuss it with a fellow person, getting ready for the exam, put your heads together, it goes a long way, So those of you on the group, I would advise you get a study buddy and yeah, go to town with this stuff, because people in the real world, when I say real world, you know what I mean? People who are not in the world of the PMBOK guide, they're not going to be able to speak the language and help you out very much, but people in the group can. So
Yeah.
I always encourage people, find a study buddy. I wish I had one. I didn't know where to start from. There's no social media back in the day. So Shri says, anyone here interested in a study buddy? Shri is a serious student. So if Shri is making you an offer, she'll motivate you and you motivate. So anyone who is keen. Daryl, very good to see you here. How you doing? I'm glad you could join this evening. And I hope this is motivating you to move some mileage. There you go. Yeah, buddy up with Shri and you guys, put together a study group and send me questions that may come up as you read the PMBOK guide. That's how to do it. Because I'm a trainer and instructor. I'm not a student. I expect you guys to be putting in more mileage than me. I expect my students to get to the point where they know where everything is even more than I do. So that's the level I'm looking for from you guys. Anyway, so Curtis, we took a look at project documents and we've taken a look at 4 things. Then it goes to deliverables, which I've read pretty much. It says a deliverable is a unique and verifiable product, result, or capability to perform a service, and it goes on and on. But the key thing in each of these, if I'm writing down deliverables, can you tell me what I need to do as I'm writing down deliverables? What do I need to do? What do I need to ask myself? Uh-huh. Good.
And make sure it meets the acceptance criteria.
Good. So you want to think about that deliverable 360. And then the main question, this is the main question that you want to ask. I'm going to write it in red. Where is this from? For anything you encounter in the PMBOK guide, you need to ask, where is this from? Deliverables is an input here. Anything you see that is an input, you want to aggressively ask, like a police officer or an army officer. You want to say, this is my territory. I'm in charge. I'm on patrol. Where are you from? Identify who you are before I let you in here. Or be on your merry way. If I cannot identify where Mr. Deliverables is from, I ain't letting him into the base, So whenever you come across any input, you need to put on that hat of, I'm in charge, I'm the security, or I'm the police officer, you can't get in. Where are you from? And then you have to do a background check for each of these inputs. I mean, it sounds funny, but that's how I look at it. I need to do your background check, Mr. Deliverables. So, Mr. Deliverables, hey, wait a minute. You got 3 different identities. You call yourself Deliverables, then you call yourself Verified Deliverables, then accept, hey, wait a minute. Let's break it down. Have you changed your name recently? And then you begin to realize, like you were saying, a deliverable could have many different forms. Now, I know that sounds extreme, but that is how I would probe each of these things going into a process. It becomes a very serious matter because the PMBOK guide has just too much stuff for you to waste time opening it up again and again. But once you narrow it down and nail it down once and you do its background check, you're like, wait a minute, I've met you before. All right, I give you a pass. I know who you are. I know where you're from. And I just need to know what your business is in these parts tonight. What are you doing here? And then you go into the actual description. Not that I don't already know you. I know who you are, but I just need to know what you're looking for here in the club at this time. Or maybe you're underage. I want to make sure you're not going to be drinking any booze. Anyway, jokes apart, All of this stuff, I would do a real background check. Seriously. That's the way I roll with these guys. You see, and then, hey, here's a notorious one. EEFs. That's the next one we're taking a look at. Now, Curtis, if you go into the LMS, you'll find a recent addition. I have made a very recent addition to, I believe it's chapter 2. So if you go to the bottom of chapter 2, you're going to find a 40-minute deep dive, 40 minutes plus of EEFs and OPAs, you see. Oh, cool. Very good. So the thing is, once you cover EEFs, you will not have to cover it in that level of detail again. And EEFs and OPAs, they're notorious, you see. So organizational, geographic, organizational, legal, all this stuff. I talk about it for an hour. Now, by the time you get to EEFs in this context, by the time you see EEFs, all you need to do is just go over the high-level bullets because you've read it. You've studied it already once. So as you're opening it, you're not getting confused. You remember my ridiculous mnemonic. My senator legalized a bunch of stuff. Anyway. You saw that? I don't want to say it on here because it seems like YouTube, they've got these robots that they detect what you say. And if you say that, they may flag you. So anyway, that's a discovery I made. But if you go through that video, all of the stuff here, seriously, all this stuff, you're like, oh, I know that. Okay. And then organizational process assets. It's either a process and procedure or it's in the corporate knowledge base. And as you go through, you're able to bucket, okay, organizational standard policies, that fits here. Personnel administration, that fits here. It becomes easier, you know? And just read through, why are you here? Knowledge about project management is often embedded in processes and routines. That's true. So, you know, in a lot of companies, they would have standard operating procedures. That's what they're saying. Some of the project management methods are embedded in those standard operating procedures. So what the PMBOK guide is trying to show you is that when we mention OPAs, we're talking about the specific organizational processes that can affect managed project knowledge. So just keep dissecting it. Keep dissecting it. Honestly, by now, you know, some people would say, Phil, I'm studying integration. They would have been done with 4 processes by now. But that's not how to do it. The way to do it is to slow down, blow it out bit by bit, and it's okay. Look, if all I can do in a day is 2 processes, but I do them really well, that's what I'm talking about, you know, and taking clear notes. That's what I'm talking about. So studying, let me just try to bring some finality to it because I don't want to take too long. I know it's really late for you. But when you look at this stuff, there's the reading component. You got to read.
Yeah.
There's the video component. You got to watch the video. For me, I would do it like this. Reading, I would first of all read the summaries of each knowledge area. So let me show you the page that I'm talking about when it comes to integration. For integration, I would take a look at page 70. So that page 70, where it breaks down all of the 7 processes in just 1 or 2 lines, I would look at page 70 first and say, okay, I've read that. So I would read the summary. Personally, I just like getting straight into it. So I would watch a video on the process. So after I've read the summary and I've gone through, read summary and read the CTTCs. These are very important. The concepts, trends, tailoring, and considerations for Agile. And you know, we've got videos for the CTTCs, the concepts, trends, tailoring, and consideration for Agile. We've got videos for both the summary and CTTCs. But it's not a bad thing to first of all read them and then get into the video. And then the video, you would watch the summary again, which would be a different spin, and watch the CTTCs for the processes. Okay, well, it will show you one process at a time. So after you read the big summary, you read the CTTCs, then we go into we go into the individual processes, which are in the videos. So 1 and 2, pretty straightforward. And then when you get to 3, this is where you begin the process videos. Process videos. And again, my suggestion here is tackling it like you've got it on the LMS in chunks. You know, like it's develop project charter. You got the whole video for it. Nothing else in that video but develop project charter. Breaking it down into all the inputs, breaking it down. So as you're watching that, that's when you want to be doing this. So you watch the video and then you do your own manual whiteboarding of this. You see, you can watch the video and then do this, or you can watch the video and stop it as I talk about each one. You could uncover a lot of stuff. So it all depends on your style, you know. Some people are just like, let me watch the whole video. Other people are like, no, let me stop the video so that as Phil says, project management plan, then I will write it down and register that I know it. If I need to open the book to read more, then I will do that. You see what I'm saying? So that would be my method, you know, to read the summary, watch the videos of the summary and CTTCs, and then boom, get into the video. And then as you get into the video, you're going to have notes of your own. So I would put another note here to take notes, like that. And then in addition to that, I would say mind map, because that's what we've been doing. I call that a mind map. So you want a mind map. And oh, it's funny. So from our friends at headquarters at Tyson's Corner, do you know that my first boss from the entire company to get the 5 above targets from Tyson's Corner, our friends at Tyson's Corner, what she did for every single process was this mind map for all 49. That's exactly what she did. And then I had another one. So there's Kelly and there's Shruti. I don't know if you know any of them, but Kelly, this is what they did: mind maps. And then in addition to the mind map, something else that Shruti told me that she did was she took all 49 data flows, all the 49 data flows from the PMBOK guide. Let me tell you which page, for example. So on page 76, you can see the data flow for develop project charter. You see that? What Shruti did was print out every single one of the processes, printed them all out, and started studying them. So after mind mapping, this is like going for a second dose and looking at the data flows and tracing, oh, where does that come from? How did that get here? You know, that kind of thing. Another student, Steve, I don't know if you know Steve Shaw, another student, another of our bosses there who killed the exam. Something else he did was even more extreme. He went to page 25. He went to page 25, and this, let me show you what he did, because this was crazy. He took over his dining table, he put butcher paper on the dining table, and guess what he did? He drew out page 25, the entire page 25, and then after drawing out page 25, he went a step further, started color coding from whatever process. He would color code where those outputs would go. So he would say, oh, this is a project charter, and it goes there and there and there. And he pretty much did it for every major process, showing where the major outputs go into and stuff, you know, where the major outputs from a process would go. And he did this across the entire guide, you know, on the table. So big dining table, butcher paper, you know. So that's the level, that is the extent that one has to get to, you know, to really, in my mind, you got to do whatever you need to do. There's another guy from these classes at Tyson's Corner, Gotham. I don't know if you know Gotham, Gotham Shah, another of my bosses, and I mentioned him. He took over a room. He took over the entire room, an entire room in his house. And, family members, what's he doing? What's he doing? He put up post-it notes for every single input, every single output, every single tool and technique. Can you imagine going into a room full of post-its with every single one of these? And he made it into a backlog of sorts. So if he didn't know it, it wouldn't move. If he knew it, it would move from one part of the wall to the other. And that's the extreme that he went through to cover all the content, And while folks were still napping, he was busy attacking. He got certified within record time, where everyone else was still taking their time. He was done. So whatever you need to do, Curtis, to cover the volume of the information, you need to do it. You need to do it. And you need to get to the point where the mock exams, like the 2020 mocks, you haven't gotten to the 2020s yet, but you will. The 2020 vision quizzes and the 2020 mock, those are pretty ferocious. By the time you get there and you're able to decipher, oh yeah, this is what they're talking about, you'll be in great shape. By the time you feel comfortable with the 2020 mocks, and then there's another one, the PMP challenge mock, which is just ill. That mock has been around for a while, but we've been changing it. The PMP challenge mock, that's another mock. And then the main mock you haven't taken the main one yet, have you? Which is good. Good. Don't take it yet until you feel like you're massively ready. Don't take it yet. But when you feel I'm ready for a challenge, first of all, take the 50 question mock. See how well you do, close the gaps. Then take the main mock. See how you do, close the gaps. Then go for the 2020 quizzes, which are just vicious. Even my champions that get 5 above targets, they say the 2020s are sick. And then take the 2020 mock. After you've done all the quizzes, you should be able to pass the mock. Try that. And then go for the PMP challenge. Hang on a second. Go for the PMP challenge quizzes first. There's a bunch of miserable quizzes. And one of our friends from the Middle East put together. You take the PMP challenge quiz, and then you take the PMP challenge mock. So don't worry, all this stuff I'm saying, you're going to be able to watch it again. So just follow what I'm saying. Follow the procedure. You want to do the 50 questions first, all right? 50 question mock, first of all. See how well you perform, when you get there. Then the main mock, then the 2020s. After the 2020 quizzes, then the 2020 mock, then the challenge quizzes, and then the challenge mock. By the time you do all this stuff, Curtis, you'll be really baked and ready to go face the real thing, But it has to start with this schedule, What I usually tell people is measure your velocity. You got to measure your velocity. So in instances where someone is studying and you only cover maybe 2 processes a day, I would say your velocity is telling me you're probably going to cover a knowledge area every 3 days. So I would be conservative, and I would say, okay, for integration, that is 7 processes. For example, for integration, that is 7 processes. I just say, okay, I cover 2 processes a day. Then this is going to take me 4 days. I'll just say 4 days. Okay, that's fine. Integration will take me 4 days. No harm, no foul. 4 days. I wouldn't try to crash the schedule because I need to be able to assimilate it. A lot of people are trying to crash what they do. No, if you need 4 days, change this. Change what you have here to 4 days. I typically give this to students and say, tailor it to whatever you want. So if it's going to take 4 days, it's 4 days. That's fine. If it's going to take 5 days, it's 5 days. But you really want to make sure that you're truly assimilating and understanding. Because if someone tells me they're done with integration, and someone says, "Oh, I don't know where my assumption log is from," no, then you didn't do a good job of studying integration. If someone says, "I've studied integration," I say, "Okay, tell me where the work performance report goes to," not where it comes from, where it goes to within integration. And the person is fumbling. I'm like, "No, you're not done a good job. You should. The light bulb should have gone off. Oh, that's PICC, because we need our reports to be able to effectively call a change request, to be done, or to say, no, don't do it. You need to understand how your project is performing by way of the work performance report. So if someone is telling me, "Oh, I don't know where that is from, but I've studied integration." "Oh, I don't know where that is from, but I've studied, let's say, schedule." And I say, "Okay, tell me which process in integration is very dependent on an output of control schedule known as schedule forecast." And the person says, "I don't know." To me, we haven't done a thorough enough job, because when you say it's done, ITTOs is like, that's the foundation. You need to know where every ITTO, the unique ones especially, where they're from. So things like schedule forecast, cost forecast, verify deliverables, all that stuff. I expect that if someone says, "I'm truly done," they need to know where that stuff is from. So for me, my idea of studying is different from a lot of instructors and students alike. I don't like rushing over stuff. I don't believe in rushing over stuff. I think you should take your time. Some people are given to really going like really fast, breakneck speed. And that's all right. If you're one of those people that can read huge volumes of stuff in like seconds, more power to you. But if you're like me that needs to slow down, slow down. Some people are great at speed reading. Some people can go through tons of pages in a very short time. But I always get paranoid if I'm covering huge volumes of stuff. So for my friends on YouTube, I want to say the same thing. Slow down. Don't go crazy. Slow down. Make sure you're absorbing the content. Make sure it's sticking. Let's take a few questions here. So, Curtis, I'm glad. Yeah, study with someone on your time zone. That's a very good strategy. Very good strategy. Yes, Daryl was in our boot camp. How did you find that, Daryl? And did you get the video, the 8-hour video going on 9 hours? I hope you're enjoying that. That stuff will really take you to the next level as you study it round the clock, because seriously, to sit down for 8 hours and go through that training, you definitely learned something for sure. Shri says, "I'm on EST. Curtis, when are you planning to take your exam?" Awesome. So you guys, in the group, you can continue doing all this stuff. What else? Can you repeat what the other person said? Oh, I'm sorry. So what Curtis is saying, if you join the group, let me see if anyone has applied to join the group. Because if you join the group, you can join the call. You can join the phone call, and you can listen in. So, yeah, sorry if you're wondering what Curtis is saying. You'd have to join the call to hear what he's saying. Okay. But for the most part, I am communicating what is relevant to you. All right, 2 people want to join the group. Oh, there you are, Curtis. Good. Okay, welcome to the group. Yolanda, welcome to the group. Awesome. So you got 2 of you now. Okay, awesome. Cool. Very good. All right, let's see what else we've got. Phil, is your video on EEF and OPAs? No, it's not on YouTube. It's in our group, in our LMS for students on our course. Antune said, "Hi Phil, could you please let me know the title?" So that video is only available on our LMS, on our learning management system, for our students who are on the course. It's called PMP Exam Prep Camp, and it's registered with the PMI. So those of you who may be looking for the course, there it is. Okay, so I just typed in the link. What is C? Oh, thank you, Curtis. Yes, concepts, trends, tailoring. Very good. Very good. Okay. So yeah, I hope you got Curtis's email, and you guys can freely exchange in the group. Very good. And so I've hidden it to protect you from spam, Curtis. So, we got all sorts of crazy attempts on YouTube to spam people. Very good. Okay. So Shri, yes, the Savage on Saturday. Yeah, the Savage on Saturday group. So if you go to the Savage on Saturday group, Shri, you'll see that Curtis is now a member of the group. All right. So yeah, going back to what I was saying, that is how I roll with the studying, with the studying. You're just going to keep on getting into the weeds, and don't be afraid of the weeds. Have your weed killer available in hand, which is your PMBOK guide, your project management essentials, your videos. You got to kill the weeds. Don't be afraid of the weeds. And by the time you unravel the weeds, you'll be a lot more comfortable. So let me give you guys some ideas of how deep I would like you to go. If you go to page 89, which everybody knows, for each of those project documents on the right, I need you to know where they're from and to have a general idea of where they are going to do something meaningful. For example, activity attributes, where is it from? It's from define activities. Where is it going? It would go to sequence activities, but it goes to other places. And you need, so here's the thing. If you know where it's from, you would have little idea of why it's going to that place. And if you know why it's going to sequence activities, if you saw it going somewhere else, you'd have a better idea of, okay, if it went to sequence activities, it would make sense that it went here as well. Because, so you're able to tie things together. So page 89, every one of the 33 there for project documents, I expect you to know them. I expect you to know where they're from. I expect you to know where they're going. See? Each one of these, for the most part, I know where they're from. Activity list from define activities. Assumption log from develop project charter. Basis of estimates from estimate cost and estimate activity resources. Maybe one or two others. Change log from performing a grade change control. Cost estimates from estimate cost. Cost forecast from control cost. Duration estimate from estimate activity duration. Issue log from direct to manage project work. Lessons learned register from manage project knowledge. Milestone list from define activities. Physical resource assignments from what? You see what I'm saying? If I think hard enough, I'll get it. But I think physical resource assignments is from chapter 9, and someone on YouTube help me. Anyone on YouTube know? So you've got plan resources, plan resource management, estimate activity resources, acquire resources. That's where it's from acquire resources. See what I'm saying? So if you think it through, if you're stuck and you can think through the processes, it helps. You see? And all the rest. I expect anyone taking the exam, you got to know where every single one of these is from. And it helps to know where it could come from multiple places, like BOEs, knowing it comes from two places. For project management plan stuff, where it comes to change management plan and configuration management plan, people are like, where's that from? It's from develop project management plan. It's from that process right there. So, I just need people to get into the detail. The detail is going to help you. It's really going to help you. Okay, so Curtis, for the most part, we are pretty much done with what I wanted to show you as far as the strategy. The strategy for studying and how you study, your study needs to have these facets. For some people, it might be the audio. It might be the audio. Have you got the audio digest, Curtis?
No, I don't, and that would be helpful because I get a lot through audio as well, especially with reading my books now, reading. I can process a lot through audio.
I think that will really help you. Yeah. So whether it's CDs or whether it's the download, those are on Praizion. I think it's a great investment for anyone. For me, honestly, there was no way I could have put in so much mileage for studying if I didn't have those audio CDs I had. I only had two, but I played them like they were 20. I would play them round the clock. At the end of the day, it helped me. I got the lady's voice etched into my brain, and I could almost repeat what she said, parrot fashion, and it did help. Even to today, some of what she said is stuck in my head. It's that bad. I'm talking about 13 years ago. Just hearing her over and over and over and over again, it got so ingrained into my head. So yeah, I would recommend maybe looking into that, and let's see.
Are those articles on the website? I'm on Praizion Media. Is it on the products and services?
Yeah, it's on. I'm gonna chat it in right now to you. So our friends at Tyson's Corner, I don't think they got this. This has always been a standalone because it's huge, and in order to make it as competitive as possible, we make things come down low. But for people who are keen on getting something like this, I'm just going to chat it into YouTube. So anyone who wants to look into that, but so many people have used that because it's difficult as a project manager on the go. One way to work. Some people's one way to work is like 2 hours, 3 hours. It's crazy, especially in traffic. So I usually tell people maximize your time, and just listen to as much of this stuff as possible. Yep. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Good. If you got any further questions, folks, you can type them in. But for the most part, Curtis, the next step, I don't think I've sent you the Excel sheet. I'll go ahead and send you an Excel sheet. In fact, let me do that. So for our students on our system, this is for our students. But everyone on the call, you can make one of these for yourself. But for our students who are on the learning system, we usually encourage them to follow this model because if you go down to the bottom, you can see like the 50 questions that I was talking about. They're here. Practice drawing out, page 25. That's here. 2020 vision quiz. Some of the stuff I mentioned is here. PMP mock, the tough mock. You can just tailor this to meet your needs a little bit better. But here's the key thing. You want to put your exam date at the bottom. Whatever you do, put your exam date there at the bottom so that you are scheduling this stuff to your exam date. So maybe use Microsoft Project, or I don't know if you got Smart Sheets or one of those other tools, or just do it in Excel. Do you have MS Project? Do you use MS Project? Do you use Microsoft Project, like for scheduling and so on?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll send you the Excel sheet, and then you can just make a schedule. Actually, I like seeing Gantt charts. So since we're doing PMP, I would say look for your Gantt chart of choice. And use a Gantt chart so that you've got that visual of how everything is woven together. That would be my 2 cents, You need a Gantt chart.
That makes sense.
Cool. So let me send this to you. Awesome. I'm going to send this to you. I've got it in Excel as well. So there's no point in sending it to you in MS Project. So let me send it to you in Excel. Shri, I think I might have even sent this to you in the past. So let's see. Okay. So are you still at Okay, I wouldn't get you on the mail address anymore, would I? No. Would I? No, I wouldn't get you on the mail. Can I use that one?
Yeah, 1906 at gmail.com.
Okay, let me go into my. Okay, let's see. Oh, cool. I got it. Okay. So I'll send this to you right now, and just modify it. But what I ask is your October 26th date. What we're going to have to do, we got 21 days, okay? So for each of these chapters, we have to be pretty aggressive. We got to be really, really wild and aggressive, because if you got 21 days, you've pretty much got one day for each chapter, and then 7 days to go over everything again. So you got to be eating the PMBOK guide for lunch and for dinner, and you got to be having weekend picnics of the PMBOK guide by. You got to go hard, Curtis, like really, really hard on this stuff. So without being too prescriptive, I want to recommend, without being too prescriptive, that you actually do like 6 hours at least on the weekends, both days. You got to have to get permission from your stakeholders and people around you, your family members. You're going to have to tell them, hey, you know, I've got business to do. So you're going to have to go hard. And all of this stuff, all the stuff that I talked about, you're going to have to really make sure that you cover all of it. All of this stuff that I talked about, the 50 question, because this stuff does take time. 50 question quiz, let's say, takes an hour, but I doubt if you're going to be able to jump into. So if this takes 1 hour, the main mock takes 4 hours. That's going to wipe you out for the day. The 2020 quizzes, at a minimum, I would say that would take you maybe another 8 hours, because it's not just taking the quiz, it's looking at what you got wrong and why you got it wrong. And there are quizzes for every knowledge area. The challenge quizzes, that's going to take roughly another 5 hours, you know, even if you're quick. The challenge mock. So all of these things, this is 1 day, that's 2 days, that's 3 days. That's, you see, that's already 4 days for mock exams. 4 days for mock exams. So the rest of the stuff, we haven't even talked about the basic studying, because you're on chapter 6 now. So we're really going to have to get our skates on in a crazy way, you know. So
Yeah, a lot of work to be done.
I think the biggest part, Curtis, is going to be planning. So can you see the Excel sheet here?
The Excel sheet.
Yeah, right on the screen. You can't see what I'm sharing on the screen, can you? The sheet? Okay.
Yeah, I saw.
Like this, it's Excel now. Can you see my Excel sheet?
No, I can't.
Oh, not yet? Okay. So let me go ahead and share this Excel sheet. Can you see it now?
Oh, no, I still just see something on the right.
Okay, let me stop. Oh, are you on YouTube? Are you looking at it on YouTube? Oh, you're looking at it on YouTube. Oh, I see. Okay. So in that case, let me see. Let me go back to sharing on the conference. And then for YouTube, let me shift it up so that people can see it, because people can't see it right this second. Let me see if I can do it such that people can see it. Okay, so I hope I'm sharing it in the conference and here on YouTube. Can you see it on YouTube now? It'll come. It's there. Cool. So now it's on YouTube, so people on YouTube can see it as well. So, Curtis, this is what I would do if I were you. So this is the parent task. So you've got from 10:5:18 to 10:26:18. So yeah, pretty pretty much what we've got here. Yeah, you can see what we've got here. Let me change this to 10.5 and see if that works. 10.5. Oh, good. So I pretty much had it all set up. Those aren't realistic. But let me see when it's telling you your end date is. Oh, we need to rein this in. This goes out to 11/3. So in the sheet that I sent, I have a formula to just keep adding the number of days. Excuse me, the number of days. So if you play around with it, just make sure you end up at 10/26.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever you do, you just play with the whole thing, end up at 10/26. And I think you and I should have another chat before, because we normally just kick the tires. So maybe a week before your exam, just ping me a week before the exam and say, Phil, I'm ready for that final chat. And then we can have a final chat, just go through the stuff and, but before then, I want you to have done all of the quizzes. So maybe we can schedule the first 50 question quiz for like the middle of next week. Because if you go crazy on this stuff this weekend, I don't know, how many chapters do you think you can cover this weekend?
5 chapters and a half at the most. 5 chapters and a half. I could be to 8 by the end of the weekend.
Okay.
I got 1 section to 6. So I could be like into the latter part of 8.
Okay, cool. So if you can take the 50 question quiz minimum by the end of next week, I mean, just target to finish the entire guide. If I were you, I don't know what your Saturday is like or your Sunday is like, but seriously, I would try to get as much over the weekends done. And then I don't know if I don't know. Anyway, work is a different ball game. Let's not even go there. But at the end of the day, just try to make sure that you give yourself a 2-week in advance gap to have finished all of the modules. So not by next week, but the middle of the week after, which would be the... Okay, so not by the 12th, but let's say by the 17th at a minimum. Seriously, it should have been done. Actually, what am I saying? So this is Friday. If you're on chapter 8 by Monday, you should be done by next week Friday. So why don't we be aggressive and say by next week Friday you're done with all the chapters, and then you've taken a 50 question quiz, and then over the weekend just go for the first 200 question quiz on the 13th, right? Just go for it. Like right there, you can see I'm looking at the calendar. So if you can go for the 200 question quiz on the 13th, close your gaps and just keep moving along, targeting all of the stuff that I had shown you previously. If we do that, I think we'll be in good shape. But yeah, we really have to be very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. Like real vicious. So we need to be as vicious as we can to cover all of this stuff. And, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier, I should reach out to you sooner.
Okay.
Yeah, but no.
Well, I know you can do it. So let's just get it done. Let's just keep plowing through it. Before you know it, we'll be done.
I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep talking, and then I definitely appreciate the guidance. So now I feel much more organized in my approach because I actually have a game plan. I felt kind of out of whack before because I didn't have a structure.
There you go. That's what it's all about. It's all about the structure. Yeah, you need that structure to know you're on the right path. And, you know, just do your copious note-taking, your copious whiteboarding. You know, maybe even get a whiteboard and religiously do... Have you mastered page 25 yet? All the 49? Do you know them by memory?
No, I do not. No.
Yeah, so we need to get to that point where you feel comfortable, you know all that stuff by memory. Get a whiteboard, maybe not too big, a manageable whiteboard that you have in your office, and daily do out page 25. Yeah, because, we should know that stuff by now. Okay, and let's touch base. Let's touch base frequently. Hopefully, the folks you've connected with this evening, like Shri and others, they'll motivate you and encourage you to, keep hitting it hard, keep going, keep doing what you need to do, and before you know it, you're going to be there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we got a question in. What is the difference between boot camp and the 35-hour course? So we have two things, Antune. So we got two things. We've got the boot camp of 6 hours, which Daryl was talking about a few minutes ago. Now that is a crazy breakneck speed immersion into everything. It's like covering the entire PMBOK guide in 6 hours. It's very, very quick, but it's also very detailed. So I wouldn't advise that to anyone who has not already taken a 35-hour course. The full 35-hour course is what I would recommend before coming to that kind of boot camp. Or if you feel you've been to a good PMP exam training, then come on board that boot camp. But don't come aboard that boot camp without having a thorough, because it is what it is. It's a boot camp. It's meant to boot you into shape. So you don't come in unfit. You come in fit to get even fitter. That's what that one is about. Okay. Now the one that I typed in earlier, the 35-hour course, we don't call that a boot camp. We call it PMP Exam Prep Camp. And it is not as vicious and as aggressive. That is self-study online for the most part. Although we do have the in-person version. Curtis, you never came for the in-person version. You did the online, right? So, yeah. And online works when, you can manage your time and take your time to do it, So I would recommend for any newcomer, that link I just chatted in, that's the one I would recommend. Don't take the boot camp. Don't take the 6-hour boot camp. Now, with that said, folks, there is one more boot camp, and I should let you know this because there is a crazy deal going on. I told you about this a little while ago, Curtis, but there's a crazy deal going on the pmsucceed.com website. So if you go to pmsucceed.com and you look at the boot camp there, that is also a 35-hour course. But we also call that a boot camp, figuratively speaking. It is intense, but it's not as quick. So the 6-hour boot camp is manic. This is a 35-hour course, which is partially boot campish and at the same time very, very slow to get you immersed. And it's over 5 weeks. But every session is going to be intense. This is not a snail-paced course, but you'll be able to catch your breath at the end of every 3 or 4 hours. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Monday, 4 to... Let me see if I can share this with you. Hold on. Let me share it. Because some people may actually need something like this where they have an instructor live helping them navigate the terrain of the exam, because it's a treacherous terrain for many people, and not having help is not a good thing, for those folks who really, really need a ton of help. So right here, if you go to pmsucceed.com, you can check out the schedule, and this is the schedule right here. So week 1, October 15th, week 2, October 22nd, shows the breakdown Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Monday and Wednesday is 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. Saturday is 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you convert the time to your time zone, you can see if that works for you. But this, we're really going to be going deep. We're not going to go that quick, but we are going to be going deep. So for anyone who needs the additional help, I would suggest maybe coming for this virtual camp. All right, so it's going to be me training, and the class is almost already full. I tell people, go sign up now, because that pricing that's there right now, we got 3 seats remaining at that price. So we had someone take up one of the seats a few hours ago. So I would suggest, if you really mean business, if your company can send you, this is a boot camp you want to be in. Don't go waste $2,000 going for some, other boot camp, because you will not be learning the immense detail that you will. I mean, you see, just going through how to study, you see how deep it goes. And Curtis knows from his firm, the firm that Curtis was in when we started, so many folks have killed this thing on our watch, So I would suggest, go sign up, guys. Go sign up. And Curtis, I'll let you know if there's any opportunity for any boot camps, like crazy quick boot camps, such as the one Daryl came for, because that would work. But you need to go through all of the content on the LMS first, and then we can begin to see if one of those boot camps is available for you. So, all right. Cool. All right, folks. Well, that's it. Do you have any questions, Curtis? Any additional questions I can answer? So, Shri,
and we got our marks on the walls, and I really appreciate it. I don't have any questions at this time. I appreciate it.
Cool. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know you're gonna do it, and let's chat. Let's keep the momentum going. If you've got any questions about anything, send them in. One of our students from India, Chetan, he's always sending in great questions, and as a result of the great questions he's sending in, other folks on our channel are learning. But he's one out of hundreds of students that actually cares to ask questions. I tell people, ask questions. Questions don't bite. We want to answer questions. So if you're going through the content and you get stuck, shoot in a question, and you'll be amazed. You'll be helping a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right.
I sent the message with free here. He sent the message and
Awesome.
all right, well, that's what I'm glad. I appreciate everybody reaching out. I'll stay on. I'm going to stay on.
I mean, for all it's worth, if you wanted to send an email every Friday and say, Phil, this is where I am in the LMS, it'll just hold you accountable, and it will help me know where you are and how I can help, and if
you already in my head, you can get a single stairs up there. I got it written here on my pad. Just do a weekly update.
there you go. Cool. All right. Well, I'll let the rest of the family get to bed, because I know I'm making you talk so late, and it's almost here. Oh, it's 12 midnight. Oh dear. Only Phil could do this to you. I ask for mercy. I ask for mercy and forgiveness from your family. So thank you, Curtis. Great talking to you, and let's get this done, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Let's hit that. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Cool. All right, everyone. Those of you watching after the fact, thank you for joining us. We're going to stop recording. Shri, thank you for joining the conference. Do you have any questions or anything you would like to ask live? Because if you want to unmute yourself and ask, now would be a perfect time. But if not, I will just end this particular conference outside of YouTube. And then if you have any questions to ask in YouTube, which you are in as well, you can ask them. All right. So bye, everyone. So I've stopped the recording. And going back into YouTube, now would be a good time to ask any additional questions. So the main purpose, of course, as you realized, was to get our student Curtis on the phone. Our students are very important to us. We want to make sure that they have what they need, they have the direction they need, focus they need, and so on. So the main purpose was to walk him through how I think one should study and how I think one should craft a timetable. So if you guys have any questions outside of that, don't hesitate to ask them now. But if you don't have any questions, I want to say thank you very much for joining. And don't forget, this channel is a channel that wants to add value to anyone getting ready for the exam. Anyone getting ready that is stuck and has a question or two on forums like this, it is always a pleasure to answer such questions, okay? So Shri, tell me what you mean by 2 weeks, because there's a difference from learning the material and studying. If you are learning the material, Shri, in all honesty, I don't think 2 weeks is going to be enough for someone with a full-time job. Now, I could be wrong, but historical information tells me that only the anomalies, only the outliers are able to do that. People like, I've talked about him so many times, one of my students out of Canada, who got on the LMS on a Thursday and got it done by Monday. That is an anomaly. That is a huge, huge anomaly. Not everyone can do that. Oh, Curtis's schedule? Well, he has to take a stab and go for it, We had this discussion earlier on, but Curtis has already read a lot of these concepts previously. So he's going to roll up his sleeves and go for it. Again, it really depends on where you are. And that's why I said we need 2 weeks in advance for him to really kick the tires. By the time Curtis takes the 50 question mark and the main 200 question mark, I will know if he's ready. And if he's not ready, he will know. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Like one of my bosses from the group, Irene was about to take the exam, and then she decided, I am not ready. I'm going to give it more time, more energy, more attention. And she did. Now she's a boss. She's actually taken the PMP and after that took the CAP-M and killed both. So once you know what it's all about and you know the trajectory, you know when to accelerate and when to ease off. And, those mock exams, they help people understand if they're ready or not. Yeah. So yeah, Curtis, he's been on this journey. He's been from a previous guide, so he knows what it's all about, and when he gets to that point, that's why we have all of these things. Like going back here, you see all the stuff I'm writing out here. I'm not just writing it out for him to fulfill all righteousness by just taking some random quizzes. No. Each one of these is a milestone that confirms readiness. So if someone gets to the main mark and is not able to hit a 70, I know they're not ready. And then if they're not able to hit the challenge mark, this one, with a 70, it's a double confirmation that they need to go back, to a drawing board. And this method, it's been tested and tried for going to a decade. Different companies, different individuals, people in public classes, people in private classes, so we will know. We will know if he's ready or not. All right, there you are, Curtis. So Curtis, he's answering the question. He said, yep, we'll make the right call based on my status. So yep, Curtis knows what to do. All right. Well, thank you all very much, folks. This is the point where we're going to shut it down. And I look forward to speaking to you again, maybe in some other training that we have online before you ace the test. Shri says, how well will this camp prepare students to take the exam? The PM Succeed camp, as good as it gets, Shri. As good as it gets. I mean, we've done this so many times. We've done it over and over again. We trained people from the Army will be with us in this training. So we train people from the Army before. We've trained people from the FBI. We've trained people from NASA. It's the same thing. We've trained people from companies that have nothing to do with technology. People that are from manufacturing. Same thing. People that are from the beauty industry. It'll amaze you. But we've done this time and time again, that if a boot camp was not going to prepare people for the real exam, do you honestly think your buddy Phil would be training such a thing? Definitely not. So whatever I train to give my people gain, so that they can gain PMP notoriety and fame. And so that when they go into the exam, they'll burst the exam up into flames. That's why I train. I don't train like just because I'm a trainer. I train to empower and weaponize my students. So when they go into the exam, they're going in with knowledge ammo. They're going in with a view to tell the PMP examiners, hey. I ain't just Johnny from across the street or Joe Blow from across the street. I'm here to make a statement. You know, that's how I want my students to represent, because they're going in and they're representing me as well. So any class I train, I'm not trading it for gain or for fame, but for my students' fame. I want their notoriety to ring clear and true, so that when PMI looks at their performance, they're like, wow, we definitely had a boss in the building at Prometric today. Anyway, jokes apart, that's what I'm getting at, you know. So any course I train, definitely I'm training to equip people, training to get them to the point where they can reach the 5AT mark. All right. You are most welcome. It's always a pleasure to chat to you guys. So I'm about to get off my soapbox and take a breather for the weekend. All right, folks, thank you all very much. I appreciate you. I love you loads. I appreciate your support. If this has helped you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because it's going to help people know that there's a maniac called Phil who enjoys the... Have you ever met someone that loves the PMBOK guide like I do? Yeah? You got to let them know there's a maniac called Phil out there. He likes the PMBOK guide. He must be an alien of some sort. Anyway, folks, jokes apart, thank you all very much. Appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you on another of these touch points. And to Curtis, thank you very much for coming in and asking all the questions and bringing in some synergies for us to brainstorm about this stuff tonight. All right. Thank you, folks. And bye from me. And bye from Pimpy, even though he is not here right now. I'm sure he's with us in spirit somehow. All right, guys. Have a good one.